I've done it. I've done what many have failed to do. I know exactly how to make a quality video game movie adaptation. There's hundreds of terrible movies based on video games, but I think I've discovered the secret. Do you want to know what it is? The key is to make the movie first and then find a video game that it relates to. The movie in question, the movie I want to talk about today is called Infinity Chamber, and I want to talk about why it's super related to FIFA 18. So this is a low-budget psychological thriller. It can kind of be compared to 2001 Space Odyssey or 2009 Moon. It's very similar to those movies. It's very complex if you really want to dive into it, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. If you want to look at other fan theories, they are out there. If you want to go explore deeper meanings of the movie, you can. But I'm going to explain why I think this movie can literally be called FIFA 18, and it would be the best video game movie adaptation ever made. The movie is about a man that is trapped in an automated prison, and he must outsmart the computer in order to escape. The man in this case is the FIFA user, the prison is FIFA 18, and the man's only point of contact is this camera in the room, and presumably there's a person behind it talking to him. We're going to call that's going to be EA. Right off the bat, the lack of things to do in this little chamber, it's a very small chamber that he's trapped in, is a perfect correlation between how few things there are to do in FIFA 18. So, there's obviously drafts, seasons, squad battles, weekend league, but if you really look at those modes, it's kind of it gets stale really quickly. So seasons, the prizes kind of suck compared to weekend league, so that's a big downside to that. Draft is a completely different gameplay towards the weekend league, so if you're playing a lot of draft, you're not actually helping yourself in the competitive mode of FIFA. And then squad battles is just playing against the AI, which can get very, very boring and very repetitive. Okay, so why is this guy in prison? What does the automated prison want? Well, from our perspective, he seems like a very innocent character. He's obviously, he's trying to claim that this is just an accident, that he doesn't belong there. The prison, however, is telling him, you're going to get your fair trial, you're just being transported, this isn't forever. But he's never given an amount of time that he has to wait in this prison. So we as the viewer feel like he's going to be trapped there for a very long time. We slowly begin to realize that the prison is after something. They want a USB, which they think he's hid somewhere. And the way they're trying to get this USB is they're trying to access his memory bank on the last day, right before he got captured. So he keeps getting put into this dreamlike state. He keeps reliving the same day, the day he got captured, and the computer is trying to extract that information from him. And later on, we learn that he's actually part of the rebellion that's trying to shut down this authoritarian government, which put him in this prison. So the way I compare the prison looking for some sort of information, it's apparently some sort of virus that could be very lethal to them, is I compare that to EA looking for money or time. Well, time usually leads to money, right? So I can compare that very easily because EA doesn't care about the user experience. They never have. They've obviously care about the bottom line, which is making money. So this is a very strong correlation in my opinion. The user or the prisoner is in a very, very shitty situation, and this computer, this automated prison, doesn't care. They're looking for information. EA's looking for money, and they'll do whatever it takes to get it. EA looking for money is very simple. They're doing it through many, many things. First of all, their whole ecosystem they've set up for their game is based on pay to play. You put money into the game, you're guaranteed to get better players. That's exactly what EA is looking for. Or you buy these special promos, or exclusive content being locked behind paywalls like EA Access. You want to play the game early? Sure, give us $5 extra a month, and you'll get 10 hours of gameplay before the game comes out. The character at the beginning of the movie doesn't seem like, he's very upset, but there's hope. You feel like, eventually he will get out. He's trying to figure out what happened to him. We're kind of putting this puzzle together as an audience, but we just assume that eventually he will get out. He might be a while from now, but he will get out. Kind of like how I felt about FIFA 18 and patches. I always thought, the next patch, the game's going to get better. The next patch, the game's going to get better. But it kept getting worse. Progressively, the game got worse and worse. It was like one issue was fixed, and then 3 others popped up. And this really goes, there's a lot of things that happen wrong this year, right? There's the glitches, obviously, that's been there every year. There's the cheaters qualifying for tournaments. There's the player cards not being correct on PC. There is so many things that happen that I don't even remember half of them. It just became a norm for these errors or these stupid things to happen with EA's game. The part I can't really correlate to the movie is kind of our character's motivation. His motivation is, he's part of the rebellion. He's clearly the good guy, and this computer is apparently the bad guy, and he wants to shut it down with this virus that he's hid. So I can't really, I don't mean, no FIFA user wants the game to be bad, right? We as users want the game to be good. So there's no correlation there. That's kind of a tough sell for me. But I think the whole system that, it's us versus them is very relatable to FIFA. Okay, so about 20 minutes into the movie, we find out that Frank, the main character, the prisoner, has been talking to a robot the whole time. We didn't really know whether the camera and the microphone in the room was another person, but we do learn relatively quickly that it's not. And this is extremely relatable to how, customers and EA communicate. There is very, very minimal communication between us and, people that are actually, have some sort of impact on the game. We've had a guy like Corey come into the Reddit, but he wasn't even an official EA representative for FIFA. He just came in and he didn't stay that long. I mean, the only way you can really communicate to EA is via maybe big YouTubers, but even that is very rare. The only true communication is through their support, but their support is not meant to handle issues with the game like bugs, glitches, stuff like that. It's kind of meant to handle, customer satisfaction, I guess. Maybe your game isn't working, maybe you need some help setting it up, or maybe I don't know, you disconnect it and they're going to give you some sort of compromise for it. It doesn't solve the bugs that are currently in the gameplay. Another very interesting part is Howard, this robot that he realizes, he starts asking for information like, why am I here? How long am I going to be here? Stuff that Howard can't answer. He just says, I'm not authorized to answer that, which is super relatable to, like, just try asking an EA representative on customer support, hey man, when are you going to fix this bug? They can't answer that. You're asking the wrong person. You're shouting into a pillow. It doesn't really do anything. So that is very relatable. Or you can take it and maybe a step further. Maybe you can say the camera is developers. Maybe Howard isn't, it's a robot. It's not, it doesn't have a, inherent purpose to, piss off Frank or keep him in this prison. The actual purpose of the robot in this movie, he says it many times, Howard's purpose is to keep Frank alive. I think we sometimes misplace our anger towards developers who are just regular human beings who also want to see their game thrive. But sometimes the shareholders, the CEOs, the other parts of the company have a bigger voice when it comes to making a game and what they want to see. So some anger can be placed for sure on developers for maybe poor gameplay design, poor this, poor that, but it's not all of it. I don't think people at EA are inherently trying to make the game bad. I think they're trying to make a quality game, but it's a massive organism, and when you come together and you have this big company, it's super hard to get everyone on the same page. So the movie progresses. He keeps reliving this dream where the computer's trying to extract this information regarding this USB, but Frank won't budge. He knows what they're trying to go after, and he's somehow, changing his memory. He's messing around in his head to make sure that he doesn't give up the information of the USB. And the situation becomes more and more bleak. You realize how much time he's put, or what it feels like he's put a lot of time into this prison. He's getting very frustrated with, you're stuck in a little room. You have nothing to do. And I think it's interesting when we look at this one part of the movie where he runs into another person, or he hears another person in the cell next to him. Now, we later learn that this is a dream, but in the moment, we think that he's actually found another person. And this other person says, hey man, the system's down, the power goes out, we've won, we're going to get out of here, like this is great. There's this moment of happiness as the viewer. You're like, okay, this is finally going to happen. He's going to finally escape. And this guy in the other cell is digging and digging and digging, and then he ends up just losing it because he just digs and there's just more concrete. He digs past his little prison layer, and there's another layer of concrete. What ends up happening is that character kills himself, and you get this feeling of hopelessness once again that now Frank is truly out of options. When you get to a certain high, that low is much, much worse, right? And the way I want to compare this is to people in the FIFA community finding each other and uniting for a cause like, fix FIFA. That was something where you saw thousands of people all mutually agree that this game needed to be fixed, and there were some serious bugs with this game that need to be addressed, and we tried to do our best to voice our concerns. It got picked up by major news outlets. It got picked up by bigger YouTubers, but at the end of the day, nothing happened out of it. So this is a very relatable scene, this little section where he sees this other person but then realizes it was all some sort of BS dream, and he didn't really get anywhere. Okay, for the final conclusion here, for the kind of the ending of the movie, what ends up happening is he escapes. He gets out. Howard helps him out, actually, in this one part, or we're led to believe Howard helps him out because he manipulates Howard and says, hey, I'm like running out of water, running out of food, which actually does end up happening in this little prison. And he says, your primary protocol is to keep me alive, and the only way I'm going to live is if you let me escape. So that's exactly what ends up happening. So he escapes, he gets out, and we think, it's happily ever after, right? Well, not exactly. He gets out, and the final scene of the movie, he enters the cafe, he talks to the pretty girl. We think this is real life now. He looks and points and takes out that USB. He finally reveals where he hid this USB. He takes it and he throws it out. It's kind of like he's moved on with this part of his life, and he sits down, he talks to the girl, and we think, okay, this is the end. He's out happily ever after. He was in that prison for what the plot tells us, he was in there for a year or so. But the final scene of the movie, the camera zooms out and bang, there you see it. It's Howard. You see the camera, and immediately you gotta assume that all of this has been some sort of big ruse. This is all a dream. The dream was to make him believe that he got out so he would reveal the location of the USB. So the way I can relate this to kind of FIFA, the conclusion of FIFA for me at least, as a content creator, there was one of two things that could have happened. This obviously goes for users as well, but I'm going to explain both angles. So as a content creator, you can do one of two things, which is stop playing FIFA, move on to something else, play Fortnite, play whatever, or you can accept the game for what it is. You can accept the reality that you're in and try to kind of live with that. So some people have quit on FIFA. Some users are just playing it even though they hate the game. They're hoping for an escape. They're hoping for a better time, just like our character was hoping, that he would be finally out of the prison. Now, also the pro scene as well. There's a lot of pros that don't like this game, but they want to be pros. Like my friend Valerio, he knows that this game is very flawed, but his ultimate goal is to become a professional in this game. So he's, putting his head down, he's getting to work, right? As a user, you can kind of relate similarly. You're a little more lenient, right? Because as a user, you can stop playing the game and, you won't really lose any money. You won't really lose any of the time that you've invested in creating content or creating a channel. But in the same sense, this is the only or one of few FIFA simulators on the planet. There's this, there's PES, there's Football Manager, and Football Manager, I wouldn't correlate that with, or I wouldn't relate that to PES or FIFA, right? So you love football, where do you go? If you don't like PES, that's it. Those are your only two options. So some users have accepted the game for what it is, that it's flawed, but they love football and they keep playing it. So in the movie, you either were the guy that kind of killed himself, that went out to play other games, or you're Frank, who just accepted that this is what it is. And maybe he deep inside knows that this is a dream. Maybe he doesn't. But he's just going to keep, hoping for a better day, I guess. So I hope I've done a good job of explaining what I thought was a really quality movie. And maybe I'm stretching, maybe I'm not. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I honestly think if EA were to buy the rights to this movie and just put an EA Sports, it's in the game at the end of the fucking movie, it would be the best video game movie adaptation ever made. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Peace.